the joint meeting of the City Council, successor agency to the Redevelopment Agency, the Public Finance Authority, the Public Utility Authority, Housing Authority, Paris Joint Powers Authority, and Paris Community Economic Development Corporation of the City of Paris this Tuesday, February 11th, 2025, at 6:30 p.m. Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Corona,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Rapp,
Here.
Councilmember Vallejo,
Here.
Councilmember Nava,
Present.
Mayor Vargas.
I'm present as well, thank you. Item 3 is our invocation. If you please stand and join us for Pastor Teray Deaver from the Carpenters Church. And please remain standing for item 4, which will be our Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Councilman Corona.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and staff. Let us pray. Father, we thank you for this day and for the gathering of these people. We thank you for the leadership that is here today. And you told us in your word that if any man lacks wisdom, let him ask of you who gives liberally and upbraideth not. And so we thank you, and we are asking and requesting of you for wisdom, wisdom to lead this city, wisdom to build this city, wisdom to unite the citizens of this city, that you might be glorified, that there may be peace and prosperity and joy and safety in this city. We thank you for who you have appointed to lead this city. And we're asking you that you, Lord God, would give witty inventions, and that you, Father, would provide the assurance and the confidence and the ingenuity to take this city into the future. We honor you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay, please join me as we do the Pledge of Allegiance. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
Thank you, Pastor. Item 5 is a report on closed session items. Madam City Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The council met in closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1 to discuss 3 pending litigation. No reportable action was taken. The council met pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D2 to consider 2 litigation cases. No reportable action was taken. The council met pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D4 to consider whether to initiate litigation in one case and authorize the city attorney's office to authorize litigation. The council met pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8 regarding real property negotiations, APN number 313-091-007. No reportable action was taken. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item 6 is our presentation and announcements. 6A is the City of Paris Employee of the Quarter recognition for the 4th quarter of 2024. And this will be introduced by our Administrative Services Director, Saida Moscar.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the City Council, this item will be presented by Planning Manager Ms. Patricia Brenes. Thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Council members, city staff. It is my pleasure to be here before you today to award Lupita Garcia for her wonderful efforts and work here in the city of Paris. I want to start by saying that Lupita is a pleasure to work with. She always comes to work with a smile. She's talented, intelligent, has a positive attitude, she's empathetic and conscientious. And these are just a few of the qualities that define Lupita. Lupita's excellent customer service has no boundaries. She's always ready to step in wherever she's needed. In her free time, she devotes her little free time. She devotes it to spending time with her daughter Bianca and her husband. And I can attest that she works really hard to attend every function that her daughter is in. Her dedication, positive attitude, reliability, and willingness to go above and beyond have earned her the title of Employee of the Quarter. You deserve this recognition, Lupita. We're very proud of you.
Well, thank you. I am very honored. Thank you to the leadership. I really enjoy working here. Everybody is great and helpful. And thank you all.
Very good, thank you. All right, council, at this time, we're going to step down. We'll present the certificate and take some pictures, and then we'll come back up. All right, so here's the beautiful Employee of the Quarter certificate. Upon recommendation of city staff, the mayor and city council proudly presents to Lupita Garcia for the honor of the Employee of the Fourth Quarter. May it be known that the Employee Recognition Committee hereby acknowledge Lupita Garcia for her dedication and unwavering commitment to the city of Paris. Your efforts are commendable and greatly appreciated. We're going to take a group photo with us, and then we're going to invite the family over as well, okay? So come on in the middle with me.
Here we go, guys. Ready? 1, 2. Gorgeous. Here we go. Ready? 1, 2. Nice. I got it. Have the family now, please.
I love this. Mucho gusto.
Guys, here we go. Ready? 1, 2. Awesome. Remember to drop that chin. Perfect. Here we go. Ready? 1, 2. Nice. I got it.
Don't move. Do you have a camera?
I have it.
You got it? You got it? Okay, good. Thank you. All right. All right, so we got one more item for you, Lupita. Don't go. This is a Macy's. I love shopping at Macy's. This is a $150 gift certificate. So the mayor's going to. $50 for Lupita, 1 for me, right? Congratulations. All right, congratulations. Okay, council, anybody like to make some comments for Lupita? Councilwoman Neva?
Lupita, congratulations. I am so happy to see that you're being recognized, even through email. Your customer service really shines, and you're a great representation of our city. So thank you so much, and I'm glad we were able to honor you today. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Rab?
Yes, congratulations, Lupita. Your work ethic is one that stands out amongst the city. To give a testament to your work ethic, we have a memo that you've compiled for us. So great job and congratulations.
Councilman Corona?
I'll make it brief, but a big congratulations. It's very well deserved from people who I talked to. Say that you're a tremendous asset to our city, and at the same time you benefit our residents too. Thank you.
Congratulations, Lupita. I'm very excited for you. Ever since I got here, I think planning is probably one of the hardest things that I've ever had to learn, so you do so much. And thank you so much for making all this pretty easy for us to read. And I hope you get a good dinner out of it, like a $300 steak. Who knows? Thank you.
All right, well, they've said it all, Lupita, but thank you so much for being a team player. You do make a difference in the planning department, so glad you're on board and well-deserved award, and look forward to seeing you as we keep on growing. Thank you. Okay, moving on, item 7 is our Youth Advisory Committee communications, which will be given by Shayna de las Alas, which is our Vice President of the Youth Advisory Committee. Did I pronounce your first name right? Shayna?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, and city staff. My name is Shayna de las Alas, and I am honored to serve as the Vice President of the Youth Advisory Committee. To start, YAC is excited to attend the Black History event on Saturday, February 15 on the City Hall campus. We will have an information booth about our YAC recruitment. Our next YAC meeting is Tuesday, February 18 from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. at Council Chambers. Community service hours are available to students who participate in our events. Lastly, YAC wants to announce the 2025 to 2026 YAC applications are now open and will be closed on Friday, May 30th, 2025. As always, YAC reminds everyone to stay safe and connected. Follow us on social media at Paris YAC for updates and information about upcoming events. Thank you for your time and continued support.
Thank you. I got to step down for a quick minute. I forgot to issue Lupita her key to the city. Okay, item 8 is our public comments. At this time, this is when any member of the public may bring a matter to the attention of the mayor and the city council that is within our jurisdiction but is not on tonight's agenda. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak?
Yes, Estella Barton.
Come on up, Stella, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening. Paris Pride Alliance would like to announce our public meetup at Cesar Chavez Paris Library Community Room on February 22nd at 3 p.m. We are a peer support group for local LGBTQIA+ adults, their families, and allies. Anyone supportive is welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rosalinda Rivas.
Let me get myself in order here. Good evening, and I want to say thank you to the mayor and all the council members and the city staff members and all the audience that's here today. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in front of all of you. I'm Rosalinda Rivas. I am also a board member with the Paris Valley Chamber of Commerce and honored to be here before all of you. Just wanted to share some updates in regards to the exciting things that we're all doing collaboratively around the city and the community with the support of I'm going to say with all of you here. The first one is the support and growth and encouragement that all of the local businesses in the community offer. And part of that, we had our Good Morning Paris, which was a great outcome because we had the Riverside County Supervisor, Jose Medina, present. He shared a lot of incredible discussions and the great information in regards to what some of the county initiatives are for the city of Paris and things that are going on. I'm going to say hot topics for the city and the state, and was able to address many of the concerns of the local businesses, and so that was wonderful. I also want to take a moment to say thank you to the mayor, because Mayor Vargas, thank you for showing up and supporting our businesses there. Your engagement with the business leaders just shows that continuous support that the city has with our community and our business leaders, and it's very encouraging. So we really appreciate the time that you make, as well as when the other city members are able to adjust their schedules to attend. So thank you. Another event that we had was what we call the DerbyCon. I know it kind of sounds interesting, right? We're not trying to con anybody, but it was a fun event. It's more like a Comic-Con, but the DerbyCon is one of the first things of its kind. It was really an event for the city of Paris, something new. And it was really based on gaming. So it was kind of like a comic book and gaming opportunity. So there was a lot of gaming enthusiasts that came out that day. And not only from the city of Paris, but surrounding cities. So that was really exciting, because now we're getting other people to come and commute and see what the great things we have to offer here at the city. And really, one of our goals here is to demonstrate the growing interest that the city of Paris can offer and grow. And we saw that with the pop culture, the gaming, the visitors that came here, and it was really a success. So one of the things we want to share is that we're going to continue to do that on a quarterly basis. So you can see some more of that DerbyCon coming your way. You may want to share with your family members, your community members, and maybe pop it into a newsletter as we're making announcements. This is really going to help support and build Paris as one of the destinations for entertainment. So as we're really trying to thrive our community and show the great things that are going on, we want to encourage businesses to think of coming to the city of Paris to see how we really embrace companies and support our community. The next thing is, on that day too, we had a ribbon cutting DerbyCon, and that was for the David Game Lounge. So this is a new business. This is one of the reasons we did it, and it's a very vibrant, and I'm going to say, diverse economy that we're doing here in the city of Paris with the support of the city. So it's really great to see that there is entrepreneurs here wanting to, I'm going to say, not make a pit stop, but make this city it's part of its community, and they can stay here. So once again, Mayor, you were there, so thank you.
Time's up. Thank you so much. Thank you.
That is all.
Okay, thank you. All right, Council, just before we move on to the minutes, some just informational. I'm going to be pulling item 12C, that's the no net loss ordinance discussion. This will be pulled off the agenda till further notice. Moving on to 9A is the approval of minutes. 9A is consideration to approve the minutes of the regular joint meeting held on January 28th, 2025 with the City Council, and all this rest of the agencies is listed on our agenda. There are no comments or questions. I entertain a motion to approve. A motion by Councilwoman Nava, second by Mayor Pro Tem Rab. Please call the vote.
Five oh, motion approved.
Thank you. All right, before we move on to our consent calendar, I'm going to be moving item 12A up, and that is to receive and file the annual state legislative update from our lobbyist, Michelle Rubalcaba. She will be giving the presentation. Michelle, come on up.
I've never received.
I don't know if that's going to be
before.
a happy one or not. This is an update from the state.
Now I feel like the expectations are very high. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. I am so excited to be before you again today. I know I typically come in November or December. I'm a little bit late this year. There were a couple of personal things I had to handle, so I appreciate your flexibility. But I'm here to wrap up the 2024 legislative session and talk to you a little bit about the upcoming, what we are currently in the 2025 legislative session. For some of your new council members, just quickly, I am part of your legislative advocacy team. I represent the city of Paris in Sacramento. I'm what you would call your eyes and ears before the state legislature and the Newsom administration. I have a colleague who works on the city of Paris with me. He wasn't able to join today, but Jeff Neal, your team, Clara, Wendell, and Antonio, they know him. We have bi-monthly meetings to discuss legislative affairs in Sacramento. Really quickly, 2024 legislative recap, you'll see that in 2024, we had a total of 2,500 legislative measures that were introduced through the Assembly and the Senate. 1,700 Assembly bills, 800 Senate bills. 1,200 of those actually made it to the governor's desk for some type of action, either a veto or signature. Roughly about a little under 16% of those bills were vetoed. That's a pretty steady number for him. A lot of his veto messages were aligned with the concerns that the state's been having fiscally. So a lot of his veto messages had to say, because we don't have this policy budgeted in our annual budget, it's going to be vetoed. So that was most of the reasons why he vetoed some of the things. Some of the political dynamics. So in 2024, we had Senator Toni Atkins from San Diego. She had been the Senate Pro Tem for quite some time. She was terming out, and so there was a shift in leadership. We now have Senator Mike McGuire. He's a Democrat from Northern California, the Sonoma area, and he is our new Pro Tem. Also, the Democratic supermajority continues to exist in Sacramento, both in the Senate and the Assembly, which means that the Democrats hold more than enough votes to pass any two-thirds vote legislation, any budget or fiscal priorities. The other thing that we saw in 2024 is we started to see a decline in the state's fiscal situation, and which means when you have less money, you have less money for legislative ideas, which is why some of those vetoes happened in 2024. What was interesting this year in 2024 is we have two new leadership members. So we have a new speaker in the Assembly, a new pro tem in the Senate. They were not getting along very well, and so there was a lot of infighting, and so a lot of bills ended up dying at the end of session, which would have typically passed but for the in-house fighting. State budget. So the governor has a Jan 10, what we call the Jan 10 budget. It's his proposed fiscal budget for the 2025-2026 fiscal year. We will see amendments to that in May when we have some of the state's income taxes and revenues have come in. So we will do what's called a May revise. But for January, the budget is mostly status quo, and he kind of keeps it flat. The way he does that is by shifting some funds, some reductions, some pulling back of unused funds. We thought we might get caught up in that with some of the budget requests, members' requests that we received, but we luckily were able to secure those funds for the city and still move forward with those. This is the best part of my presentation. So we have some legislative wins to share with the city. SB 1494, which was a bill by Senator Steve Glazier, a Democrat from the city of Orinda, on sales and use tax. We have been opposed to this legislative policy attempt for since I started with you guys in 2018. So it has been I can't tell you how unusual it is to have stopped this policy measure as many times as we did. Senator Glazier is termed out. He is no longer a member of the legislature, so I'm hoping that we don't have to deal with this anymore, but that might be wishful thinking. It might come back in some other form. But congratulations to your team. They were so helpful to me when we were talking about data from the city, how do we use our funds, demographics, all of that, which was key in stopping this measure. Another bill that we supported and did pass was a bill by our former senator, Senator Richard Roth, having to do with Joint Powers Authority, basically allowing the March Joint Powers Authority to transfer their jurisdiction of their community facility districts to Riverside County. Was something that we supported, and it did get passed and signed by the governor. Another bill that we supported was AB 2584. I think it was good public policy. Assemblymember Lee, the prohibition on corporate ownership of housing. Basically, what the bill would have done is it would have prohibited any business entity that already owned 1,000 or more single-family residences from acquiring any more, right? So trying to limit the corporate ownership of single-family homes. We did support that. I think it was a just position. The bill did not pass, but he might be reintroducing that this year. So I will let you know about that. In 2024, I know it's already February 2025, but in November, we had a big election. All assembly seats were up for re-election. We did have some people leave in the assembly that had been there for a very long time. The legislature has a 12-year term limit. 2024 was the end of that full 12-year term, so a lot of people moved out. In the Senate, we had the same thing. Obviously, Senator Roth was our legislative delegation member, and he was termed out. What else about? We did have a couple of Republican seats flip from Democrat to Republican, 2 in the Assembly and 1 in the Senate. So that was of interest. We weren't anticipating that. And then looking ahead to 2025, I think what I can tell you is that California has long seen itself as kind of the blue wall that, you know, the federal government will crash itself against. So we're going to have to see how the Newsom administration responds to any policies that are put out by the Trump administration. Also, vice versa of that, how does President Trump kind of engage with Governor Newsom? I think this most recent interaction that they had in Washington, D.C., when the governor went to go ask for support for the LA fires, it was a good interaction. I think we thought it was going to be a little bit more prickly than that, but they seem to be working well as of now. I think the other thing that we need to consider is that the state will continue to have fiscal concerns. How does that impact cities? We know that when the state of California has budgetary concerns, it trickles down to local governments. So that's a concern that we'll have to be on the lookout. The other thing that for me mostly is we have a lot of new members. We have about 30 new legislative members who have never been in the legislature, and there was a stat that I saw, about 70% of them have 4 years or less of experience legislating. So that's going to be difficult to try and manage that. Governor Newsom, lame duck status, he only has 2 years left. The legislature has typically given him his way in his tenure. Do they push back? Do they start putting their priorities before him? So that will be interesting. And Senator McGuire is going to be terming out in 2 years. He's an interim pro tem, so there might be some leadership changes in the Senate. And we obviously have a new senator as well representing the city, and so we're excited to work with her. The last thing that I don't have on here, because I created this a little while ago, is obviously the LA fires. They are taking up a lot of time and space in Sacramento with fiscal concerns, with policy concerns. They might take up most of the energy in the room. So depending on what the city would like to do in 2025 as far as moving legislative policy, we'll have to balance against those efforts. That's all I have. I'm here for any questions, comments, or concerns. And thank you again for allowing me to represent the city.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Councilman, do you have any questions?
Yeah, with the bill regarding lease bill with the 1,000 homes, you know, corporation could do it. I know it failed in Senate. Is there a reason why, in your opinion?
I think that there was concern with how it was drafted and the fact that you are basically prohibiting a right to purchase. And so where's the public policy of, like, if they have the money, why can't they purchase the homes? And so there was concerns with that. And I think that the public policy from the Assembly of, like, we should let those homes be available to families instead of corporations.
Right.
It didn't garner as much support in the Senate as it did in the Assembly. But I think he's going to reintroduce it.
Okay. No, I wonder if you could reach out to him. If you're looking for support, if you could kind of send that our way.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else? All right, seeing nobody else in the queue. Madam Clerk, do you have any public comments?
No, sir.
Requests? All right, Michelle, you're released. Thank you so much.
Thank you. See you soon.
Okay, item 10 is our consent calendar. Consent calendar items are acted normally in one motion. The mayor and the city council may remove a consent calendar for a separate action. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes. Council, anybody have anything they'd like to pull? All right. Is the initial resolution in here, the first one for the campaign contributions? Where do we put that? No, that's in a public hearing. Okay, good. All right, then I'm looking for, do we have any requests to speak on this, Madam Clerk?
No, sir.
All right, I have, looking for a motion to approve. Anybody?
It's not, give me that.
Oh. Now try. All right, we have a motion by Councilman Corona, a second by Mayor Pro Tem. Please call a vote. Oh, sorry. Thank you.
5-0, motion approved.
Thank you. Item 11 is our public hearings. 11A is consideration to adopt the first reading of proposed ordinance number next in order to address prohibited camping and encampment and removal procedure. The first reading of the proposed ordinance number next in order is entitled, "An Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Paris, California, adding Chapter 7.52, Prohibited Camping and Encampment Removal Procedure of Title VII, Health and Welfare of the Paris Municipal Code, establishing procedures for removal of encampments consistent with Executive Order N-1-24. This will be introduced by our Director of Economic Development and Housing, Ms. Michelle Ogawa.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. I'd like to introduce Dr. Sarah Cortez de Buffon, our Principal Management Analyst, to present this item.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, and city staff. The item before you is a first reading for an unlawful camping ordinance. Just some background. In the 2018 Martin v. Boise case, the court ruled that enforcing camping regulations that criminalize certain activities by homeless individuals like sleeping, sitting, standing, or eating on public property violated the Eighth Amendment on cruel and unusual punishment. On June 28th of last year, the Supreme Court ruled in the Johnson v. Grants Pass case that enforcing these camping regulations against homeless individuals did not violate the cruel and unusual punishment Eighth Amendment, impacting the Martin v. Boise case, thereby allowing governments to begin enforcing camping regulations. On July 25th of last year, California Governor Newsom issued an executive order in response to the Grants Pass decision, ordering local governments to urgently address homeless encampments. And some of the executive order highlights include that agencies were to adopt policies and a plan consistent with the Caltrans existing ordinance, and whenever feasible, to do a site assessment in advance of removal operations to determine if the encampment poses an imminent threat to life, health, safety, or infrastructure, such that exigent circumstances require immediate removal. And where these exigent circumstances exist, as much advance notice to vacate as reasonable under the circumstances. And where there are no exigent circumstances, that there be posting of a notice to vacate at least 48 hours prior to initiating removal. We are also to contact service providers to request outreach services for these individuals at these encampments. And also the collection, labeling, and storage of personal property connected there be for 60 days, as long as they were not a health or safety hazard. The unlawful camping ordinance was developed in line with the Caltrans ordinance to cover homelessness within the city of Paris. Also, please note that the Grants Pass decision only overturned the cruel and unusual punishment applicability to camping ordinances. Any ordinances that were drafted in response must comply with the pre-Martin v. Boise constitutional requirements in regards to avoiding penalties such as excessive fines that do violate the Eighth Amendment. The draft ordinance was presented to the City Council on January 28th as a business item discussion for staff to receive direction. As a refresher of the structure, these items remain the same. It categorizes encampments into two levels: priority level 1, which will identify more critical conditions needing urgent removal, and priority level 2, which addresses encampments but without urgency. There are requirements to post for notice to vacate. So for priority level 1, there is no required posting needed. And for priority level 2, you do need 48 hours in advance notice. And if the removal doesn't begin on the date posted, then the location must be reposted and the 48 hours has to start all over again. And there are procedure requirements and record-keeping processes which are fairly involved, and many of them carry set timeframes to remain in compliance. So for instance, once an encampment has been removed, there needs to be a summary report filed with the city clerk within 1 week of that removal. And for the procedure requirements, these details will be worked out before the ordinance comes into effect. The updates from the January 28th business item discussion were sixfold. The first one was to increase holding property from 60 days to 90 days to align with the sheriff's policy. Number 2 was after the second ordinance violation, individuals shall be banned from the parks for 1 year and personal property will no longer be stored. Please advise that the ban from city parks is included, but legal has advised that there would be risk exposure to the city if we refuse to store their personal property. The third item was to include language that addresses recreational vehicle parking in residential areas. The red light copy that you have before you that has been distributed reflects the addition of the residential areas for RV parking. Number 4 was to include language to reflect that the ordinance will apply to all educational institutions, so K through 12, school sites, community colleges, vocational schools, etc. Also, public facilities, including the public library property, fire station property, sheriff station property, as well as daycare centers and facilities serving the youth and places of worship. The 5th item was to include language in the section regarding encampment assessment, action items, and consideration to add the city's homeless outreach service providers, municipal enforcement department, parks department, or other staff as applicable. And the 6th item was to include language to include the first violation of the ordinance be classified as a misdemeanor. Legal has advised that the first offense being an administrative citation, and that's been incorporated into the ordinance language for the reason being that under a legal challenge, a tiered approach is more defensible. Staff recommends that City Council hold a public hearing and introduce the first reading of the ordinance number next in order to address prohibited camping and encampment removal procedures. This concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Council, before I open up the public hearing, anybody have any quick questions or comments, please use the queue. Councilman Corona?
Yes, I wonder if you could go back one slide. I gotta go to Q. Okay.
One more?
No, right there is good. Just to be clear, because it said language, educational institutions, which include, all the following. Does that include, and I just want to be specific, district offices? Because we do have 3 district offices, and some of their grounds are a little larger, but does that include those as well, or?
Not to my understanding, but if you would like that language to be included, et cetera.
Doesn't public facilities or et cetera cover that?
I guess it'd be a set,
Or
but
do we have
just
to be
to
more
be clear, is
specific?
that?
Yeah.
Okay. And then at the bottom, just I'm just wondering, is it a typo, but places of worship or?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Yes,
ju-
places of worship.
Okay,
Sorry.
all right. But I think everything's good though, besides that though. Thank you.
So I don't want to get caught in a loophole, so maybe we'll check with legal, but like Councilwoman Nava indicated, it says colleges, vocational schools, comma, et cetera. Then you have public facilities. We just want to make sure if we have to act specific, that we should list district offices. So I don't know if it's covered under et cetera, or should we spell it out?
Public facilities would include that, but it doesn't hurt to clarify, say, including district offices.
Okay?
Okay.
All right, then I'll see anybody else in the queue. I'm going to open up the public hearing at 7:08. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak?
No, sir.
Anybody wishing to speak on this item? Very good. We'll close the public hearing at 7:09. And I'll call for a motion on the first reading of the ordinance. I have a motion by Councilman Corona, a second by Councilwoman Nava. Please call the vote.
5-0, motion approved.
Thank you. 11B is consideration to introduce the first reading of proposed ordinance number next in order to update the Transportation Uniform Mitigation Fee, also known as TUMP, schedule in alignment with the Western Riverside County. First reading of proposed ordinance number. Next in order is entitled, An Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Paris, County of Riverside, State of California, amending and superseding ordinance number 1352 to update participation in the Western Riverside County Transportation Uniform Mitigation Fee, TUMF program. This will be introduced by our Director of Development Services, Mr. Kenneth Fung.
Good evening, Mayor. This item will be presented from our Building and Safety Manager, Veronica Arana.
Thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, and city staff. The item before you is the first reading to adopt an ordinance and resolution to update the city's participation in the Transportation Uniform Mitigation Fee, also known as a TUMF program. The City of Paris is one of 18 member jurisdictions of the Western Riverside Council of Governments, also known as WRCOG, which developed a TUMF program to address funding shortfalls for expanding regional highways and arterial networks impacted by new development. Most recently, the WRCOG Executive Committee approved the 2024 Nexus Study on September 9th, 2024, which recommends updating the TUMF fee schedule to establish a reasonable relationship between the fees collected and the infrastructure improvements funded. The ordinance and resolution identify the purpose of the revised fees, the projects they will fund, and the relationship between the development types and the need for improvements in transportation. Let's review the changes to the TUMF fee schedule. The current TUMF fee schedule is as follows: $10,104 per single family residential unit, $6,580 per multifamily residential unit, $186 per square foot of industrial project, $7.72 per square feet for retail commercial projects, $4.89 per square foot of service commercial projects, and $2.45 per square foot for service class A and B office. Beginning April 1st, 2025, the proposed fees are listed in this slide. Some key changes are residential fees have increased and are now tiered based on unit size. Industrial projects have also increased from $1.86 per square foot to $2.33 per square foot. However, retail, commercial, and office development fees remain unchanged to encourage economic growth. Staff recommends to introduce the first reading of an ordinance next in order to amend and update the City of Paris's TUMF program, and also adopt a resolution to amend an updated fee schedule applicable under the TUMF program. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Arana. Council, do we have any quick questions?
Yeah, I actually have a quick question. When was the last time these fees were updated, and how does that process work?
I do have somebody from WRCOG here to answer any of your questions.
Sorry, you asked about when the last time the fee was updated?
Correct.
Okay, the last time the fee was updated was in January 1st, 2022. That was a cost construction index update. We haven't done the Nexus study, the full update of all demographics modeling, project cost analysis. We haven't done that since 2017. So the 2024 update of the Nexus study is before you at this time.
Okay.
But last time we updated was 2022.
So do the fees depend on just how every unit is?
It is dependent upon how much traffic is generated by that type of unit. So we do modeling studies. We use what's called the ITE trip manual, and it basically, per square foot or per residential unit, we determine how many traffic trips are created by those types of development. And that's what institutes the fee, and it goes towards the mitigation program we have of building and constructing roads to mitigate congestion caused by that new development.
Perfect, thank you.
Anybody else? Councilman Corona?
Yeah, quick question. So are these fees like region-wide? These are all throughout like the area? Is this Riverside County? Is this Southern California? Like how far does it reach?
So the TUMF fee stands for Transportation Uniform Mitigation Fee, which means that it is a uniform fee, but it only pertains to the Western Riverside Council of Governments, which
Gotcha,
is Western Riverside.
WRCOG,
Yeah,
okay, gotcha.
There is a There is a TUMF program in the CVAG area, the Coachella Valley Associated Governments. They also have a TUMF fee program, but it's not as extensive as the one here.
Yeah, how would you compare our rates to maybe their rates or to San Diego County, or like, are they all, is this kind of in line with the whole entire region?
I can't speak for every single county or every single jurisdiction, but we have done a study. Last time we did that fee study was in 2021, and we were at or below most impact fees. Not everybody has a TUMF program just like ours. Some cities have their own mitigation fees. Some of those can be a lot more. Some of them are a little less. But we do this nexus study so we can find out what is the fair amount that we should charge so that we can build these projects and mitigate new traffic.
Okay, well, we'll see. You know, with my issue, it's in the name, right? Uniform. But so you have, a house in San Jacinto, which the property values are going to be lower than, say, a house in Canyon Lake, but they're paying the same.
Right.
They're paying the same fees. Okay.
Right. And the reason for that is because the transportation projects themselves, which is what we're mitigating for, we're trying to build interchanges. Those interchange projects, those road widening costs, those bridge costs are roughly the same. As you go from Paris to Hemet or vice versa, or Corona, those costs for those infrastructure projects are the same. So the Nexus study looks at what those costs are, and we take into account the building environment, the urban versus suburban versus rural environment, and we look at all those factors and come up with a uniform cost for these projects based on a couple of those factors.
Okay. I'm wondering if is it possible to go back a couple slides to the housing for the housing. So
This is the current one, and this is the new one.
That one, the new one, yeah. Okay, so right there, so what I noticed is that, obviously a house that's 2,700 square feet or larger, they're gonna pay 19,000.
Yeah.
Which mine is like barely exceeding that. So I'm glad I'm not having to build a new house right now. But a house in, say, Temecula in the wine country, that might be 20,000. They're still gonna pay a fee of 19,000?
Yeah, this is based on the state law AB 602 that came out that we had to mitigate based on the size of the home. We couldn't just do a per unit fee.
Okay.
And what we found as we studied those things was that, yes, smaller homes generate fewer trips. There's less traffic created per home for a smaller home. And we found that it escalated as the homes got bigger. However, at about 2,700 square feet, which is what we set our final tier at, the rate plateaus.
Okay.
So the difference between a 2,700 square foot residential unit and a 5,000 square foot residential unit was minimal, if not non-existent. That's why we keep the fee what it is. I mean, of course, we could charge a heck of a lot more for a more expensive house, but due to AB 1600, the Mitigation Fee Act, that would be illegal to do.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Yeah. But, I figure if someone's building a 20,000 square foot house, they could probably afford to pay a little bit more.
Right.
But I totally get it, though. Thank you so much. It was a great presentation.
All right, let me open up the public hearing, guys. I'll open the public hearing at 7:18. Madam Clerk, do you have any requests to speak?
No, sir.
Anybody wishing to speak at this time? Hearing and seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing at 7:18. I'll continue on discussion. If there is no further discussion, I'll entertain a motion for the first reading of the ordinance. Where did Mr. Arana go? Thank you. Good presentation. I think next time, it would be nice to see side by side the schedules of amounts. You know what I mean? As opposed to one page or the other page. Okay, I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Rabb, second by Councilwoman Nava. Please call the vote.
5-0, motion approved.
Thank you. 11C is consideration to adopt resolution number next in order regarding conditional use permit CUP 22-05002, conditional use permits CUP 22-05003, and variance VR 24-05022-A. Proposal to consider, is that dash A or is it the end of the number, and then it's a proposal to consider.
It's a proposal to consider, it's just to
Okay,
separate
so
out the
let me
numbers.
scratch that then. And variance VR number 24-05022. This is a proposal to consider an appeal of the Planning Commission approval of the following entitlements for a travel center and a freeway-orientated sign on 14.4 acres located on the northwest corner of Ethanak Road and Trumbull Road in the community zone. One CUP for construction of a 13,980 square foot travel center consisting of a drive-through restaurant, convenience store with fueling facilities for trucks and passenger vehicles, and an 8,452 square foot truck shop. And two, a variance for a freeway-orientated sign to exceed allowable height and area. The applicant is Alan Robertson, Ethanak Travel Center. This is going to be introduced by our Director of Development Services, Mr. Kenneth Fung.
Good evening, Mayor. This will be presented by our employee of the quarter, Lupita Garcia.
Don't mess up, Lupita.
Got it.
No pressure, yeah.
Well, good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, and city staff. Thank you for the introduction. As you know, my name is Lupita Garcia. I'm the Associate Planner. Tonight, I'm bringing before you the Ethanak Travel Center project, which consists of a truck fueling, vehicle fueling, a convenience store with a drive-through restaurant, and a truck shop. To provide you with some background information, on October 16th, 2024, the Planning Commission approved the Ethanak Travel Center by a vote of 4-0, highlighting the following attributes: adequate screening of trucks from Ethanak Road, substantial landscape coverage percentage, suitable land use and site design for the commercial community zone, extensive community outreach, separate access points for trucks and passenger vehicles, job creation, and compliance with the city's adopted truck route. First, I'd like to give you an overview of the project. The project site is located on the northwest corner of Ethanak Road and Trumbull Road. The project includes 2 vacant parcels totaling 14.4 acres. The general plan and zoning designation are commercial community. Additionally, the properties to the north, east, and south are also zoned commercial community, and the properties to the west are zoned commercial within the Green Valley specific plan. The project consists of an 11,752 square foot convenience store, a 2,228 square foot drive-through restaurant, a 6,319 square foot auto fuel canopy, a 3,119 square foot fuel canopy, and an 8,452 square foot truck shop. The convenience store with drive-through are shown in green. The truck and auto canopies are shown in red, and the truck shop is shown in purple. The project also includes a variance in height and sign area for a freeway-oriented sign, which is proposed on the northwest corner of the property. The variance can be justified by the Ethanak Road overpass and the geometry of Interstate 215 freeway restricting the visibility of the sign. Before you, we have the elevations for the travel center. The top rendering shows the south view, which is the main entrance to the convenience store. This is the view you will see from Ethanak Road. And the bottom rendering shows the north elevation, which is the rear of the building. This rendering depicts the travel center from Ethanak Road facing northeast. And here we see the view of the travel center from Trumbull Road facing southwest. On October 25th, 2024, the City of Menifee filed an appeal to the City Council, citing the following: deficiency claims with the EIR prepared for the project, impacts on public safety, particularly fire services. The applicant provided a response to the appeal letter concluding that the appellant's comments have already been addressed in the final EIR certified by the Planning Commission. No new issues or impacts outside of the original project analysis were identified. The appellant committed to contributing $154,011 for the Barnett Road realignment and to implement a security plan. I would like to bring to your attention that staff received 2 letters, which are presented before you tonight. The first letter is from the City of Menifee, and the second letter is from Rutan and Tucker LP, representing the Cato project in the City of Menifee. Staff has reviewed the letters and disagrees with some of the arguments made by the appellant. Staff recommends that the City Council adopt resolution number next in order denying the appeal of the Commission's approval for CUP 22-05002, CUP 22-05003, and variance 24-05022, affirming the Planning Commission's decision set forth in resolution number 2415, certifying the environmental impact report, adopting the mitigation monitoring and reporting program, the findings of fact and statement of overriding considerations, and approve conditional use permit 22-05002, conditional use permit 22-05003, and variance 24-05022 for the Ethernac Travel Center, based on the findings and subject to the conditions of approval. This concludes my presentation. I am available for any questions. I also would like to let you know that the appellant and the applicant are both here with a presentation for you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Good job. All right, Council, before I open the public hearing, do you have any quick questions? Councilwoman Nava?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Lupita, for a very thorough and great presentation. My quick question is in regards to the signage. I noticed that there are panels for tenants to be incorporated in there. Do we know what material that would be? Is it similar to the ones we've seen in other building structures?
So the panels are going to be like, they're clear panels and they're refaced for the tenants that need to.
Yeah, they would be a typical panel like you see in a typical shopping center. That would be like a plastic panel with letterings that are raised a little bit so they provide some dimensions.
So the one that I'm referencing to that has a lot of sun damage, the Food for Less signage, is that the same material that would be used here?
I'm not sure it's the same, but typically if those are faded, we could work with code enforcement to get those replaced if they're
Okay.
fading.
My issue with that is that in the meantime, while we get that worked up, it's really unsightly. And this is signage that's going to be seen day in and day out by commuters and folks entering and leaving our city. So it's really important that, and one of the reasons why, this is a side note, I like to call in for consultants to help us regarding signage throughout our city and whatnot. I really want us to get away from something that would need fixing in due time. I hate to be the one having to remind our staff to look into this, and then they have to do the work to get that met. So rather than going through that again, is there any way that we could have the applicant give us a really nice signage, that's something that's durable, that's going to last us for at least a number of years? Because as you know, we face some really extreme temperatures here. And like I said, I hate to see those fading signs.
Yes, definitely. We can probably condition something to that nature to make sure that happens.
Perfect, thank you.
Councilwoman Vallejo?
Yeah, I had a quick question. I know from one of the slides, it said implement security plan. What kind of security plan are we talking here? Like for the whole land use?
The applicant is going to have 24-hour security guard and surveillance cameras for the Ethernac Travel Center.
Oh, okay. And is this like any regular gas station or one like for those big semi trucks and also small cars?
That is correct. So
Okay.
you can fuel your regular vehicle, and a semi can also fuel.
Oh, okay. And then what was the auto canopy and fuel canopy? Oh, I mean the auto canopy. Is that the same thing?
Yes, that's where the passenger vehicles would get fuel.
Oh, okay, so there's one for each type of car.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. All right, perfect. Thank you.
All right, nobody else in the queue. I'm going to open up the public hearing at 7:29. And we're going to offer the applicant to come up first, followed by Menifee.
Just the arrows? Okay, I won't make that mistake again. Ready. Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Alan Robertson. I am the applicant. First, congratulations to Lupita. That's an awesome honor, Lupita. We've been working with her for 3 years now, so she's been great and excellent to work with, so much deserved. As you know, our project was approved at Planning Commission back in October, but unfortunately, we were appealed by Menifee, which brings us back here tonight. I do have a very short presentation for you. We also have our team here to answer any questions you all might have tonight.
Appreciate the shortness.
About Ethonac Travel Center. Ethonac Travel Center will be operated by Anthem Oil. Anthem Oil is an independent family-owned company with locations throughout Southern California. We will build together a brand-new, high-quality travel center along the I-215 freeway that will offer premium amenities to professional drivers, travelers, and residents. The travel center will provide necessary services and accommodations to trucks and drivers that pass through and operate in the city every day. Also for truckers, this site will have ample, safe, and secure parking, which will help remove trucks off city streets and keep them away from local neighborhoods, which we found is a pretty big issue here in Paris. I also want to point out that this project is not bringing trucks or traffic to Paris. We are simply collecting and servicing the traffic that already exists in the area. Just a reminder that a travel center is not a final destination like a warehouse. We are just a stop along the way for many drivers. Project location. We work closely with the city staff and planning commission on selecting a location for this project. We felt this location here at Ethonac Road would be ideal for a travel center because the current zoning does allow for the proposed use. This is commercial land with a commercial use, and we do not need a zone change. Ethonac Road is an existing truck route, and the property is surrounded by commercial industrial zone land. So as you can see in this image here, that yellow line represents the city boundary line. The blue represents all the areas that are zoned for industrial uses, and the red represents all the areas that are zoned for commercial uses. Community benefits. For our community benefits, first, we're providing several needed infrastructure improvements to this area. These include street improvements, utility extensions, and installation of a public storm drain to relieve major flooding issues in the area. We're also working very closely with Menifee's developer Core 5, and we've agreed to pay a fair share with them for construction costs in the area. This will include the on and off ramps, part of the overpass over the freeway, and the Ethonac Road improvements that we're working very closely with them on. We're creating jobs. We estimate 35 new jobs at this location. We'll have 5 managers and 5 supervisors within that 35 jobs. The operator is also working with economic development and the Chamber of Commerce on a plan to hire locally here in Paris. We're bringing new restaurants. Both Arby's and Cinnabon have committed to this location. And also with our location, you can expect low-price fuel. Prices will be consistent with Costco, but without those long lines. Another major community benefit for this project is we can offer eco-friendly and alternative energy options that are not available at traditional gas stations and are hard to find within the city. We'll have EV charging stations, E85 fuel, and room for future expansion of alternative fueling facilities, including hydrogen or whatever that next big thing is that these truckers need. We're also installing solar on both buildings with the ability to expand solar onto the fuel canopies. Lastly, for tax revenue, we estimate $1.2 million per year to the city of Paris. This should help fund city services and many much-needed improvement projects within the city. Community support. We always like to get feedback on our projects through community outreach. For this project, we canvassed the neighboring residents and businesses, and we coordinated improvements with nearby developments. We sent notifications to the residents in the area you see there outlined in red. That is well beyond our 300-foot requirement. Through this outreach, we were able to receive an enormous amount of support, which included 72 flyers and several letters in support of our project. We also had a strong showing at our Planning Commission hearing. We heard from 14 public comments in favor of our project, with the only negative comments coming from the city of Menifee. We then received a unanimous approval at Planning Commission. For tonight, we did have an additional 15 requests from residents to speak at this hearing that reached out directly to us. Now, after our Planning Commission hearing that went well over 2 hours, we don't want to make everyone sit through that again. So we've only asked a few of our speakers here tonight who have some things to say about our project. Now, that concludes our presentation tonight. We do have, again, our staff available for our team available for any questions, and we look forward to any feedback you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. Madam Clerk, do you have any requests to speak?
No, sir.
Okay, I see a lot of blue slips in the back room. If you're intending on speaking, you need to bring those up, please, to the city clerk. You can hand them to the closest person to my left on the... You got all, I don't want just the slips. You guys come up forward as well and sit down in the reserved seats here so we can expedite your comments. At this time, I'm going to call up on the appellant from Menifee.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council and City staff. Thank you for hearing our presentation today. I won't extensively go over the project details as you've heard them already. However, this is a large-scale truck stop, and it's located along a portion of Ethenac Road that is severely debilitated one way. It needs a lot of infrastructure improvements, and that's one of the points that we really just wanted to highlight here. Additionally, it's incredibly close to residential, and this was something that South Coast Air Quality Management District also noted in their comment. The City of Menifee has submitted several comments identifying the issues with the EIR for this project, the environmental review under CEQA. These comments are incorporated into this appeal by reference, as well as the supplement that we submitted today, and the comments or issues raised from any other appellant, or any other commenter, excuse me. So in an effort to keep it short, I would like to, instead of going into great detail on our written comment, briefly touch upon a few of the key areas. Air quality and GHG analyses in the EIR, even though they were amended in the final EIR, still are problematic. In particular, the final EIR adds significant new information for the first time. Appendix C is entirely remodeled air quality analysis, health risk analysis, and that includes the cancer risk to the nearby residential community. There are also still flaws in the existing documents assumptions, including the transportation refrigeration unit assumptions, which drastically underestimate the trips with respect to those units, and those units have significantly more air pollution. They put a lot more diesel particulates in the matter because they're refrigerated. Appendix C assumptions are also problematic with respect to the on-site travel for all trucks. In any event, all of this data is significant, new information, and the public, and in particular the agencies, need an opportunity to review that. That's the heart of the CEQA process. And so we ask that you also consider recirculation. So traffic, circulation, and infrastructure. As I mentioned, I drove along Ethenac Road today, adjacent to the project site. And it's incredible to think that there will be an addition of up to 8,568 trips on that very small one-way. So the Case Barnett-Ethenac intersection was not analyzed in the traffic impact analysis. This is a separate flaw under CEQA. Paris has even deemed this intersection unsafe, and yet it was not analyzed in this EIR, which, as we saw from the prior slide, anticipates a significant addition of trips. The new proposed $154,011 fair share contribution is not consistent with the same methodologies that Paris applies to Menifee, and we'd ask that you please apply the same methodologies. There's also an issue with respect to the truck queuing and the left turn pocket queues and intersection congestion. We also ask that realignment should be completed prior to project completion. Additionally, the larger I-215 Ethenac Road interchange needs to be analyzed to determine fair share contribution. Again, we'd ask that Paris be consistent in the methodologies that it applies to Menifee. Additionally, per Paris's circulation element, Ethenac Road is designated as an expressway and truck route. However, the EIR only proposes to add a second westbound lane to Ethenac Road along the project frontage. Design and aesthetics. As Councilmember Nava noted, the design of this sign could use some reworking. In addition to the issues with the aesthetics, the variance findings fail. There are supposed to be a heightened level of findings to grant someone a variance from the generally applicable zoning. And here, those findings were not made, and the courts will not recognize a financial hardship where, on one hand, you're asking for a reprieve that nobody else gets, but then on the other, you are benefiting from the existing zoning. The CUP project will bring in a lot of truck traffic, and this is a variance asking for a reprieve from zoning. Fire services. So at present, Menifee provides fire services to Paris at a ratio of 4.28 to 1. The difference between the two cities is about $10 million in how they contribute to fire services. Moreover, between September 2023 and 24, Menifee ran over 518 service calls in Paris. We'd ask that you'd increase the fire contribution, and we understand that there is potentially a fire station ready for design in the area. However, that still is not sufficient. No new development should occur until the fire station is completed. So one thing that was spoken to briefly was that there may be some sort of security plan. However, that's just not reflected in the conditions of approval. I'm not sure how that's going to be enforceable or how it's considered part of the project. There are also some issues with how the project will manage the long-term parking and how it'll manage the spillover parking into the city of Menifee. So there are also some general public safety concerns, obviously, with a truck stop like this. Just wanted to highlight that there are articles and studies that show that truck stops have a significantly higher crime rate. We would ask that the travel center have 24/7 on-site security with a security guard and surveillance cameras. On whole, we respectfully request that the City Council deny the proposed project and grant the appeal. If Paris City Council decides to approve the project, the City of Menifee requests that at a minimum, the following conditions be required. Reassess emission calculations to reflect the true TRU count. Recirculate the EIR with the updated AQ, GHG, and traffic analyses. Construct the Case Barnett Ethernac intersection alignment prior to occupancy. Pay fair share consistent with Horatio for Menifee. Reduce freestanding sign height. Provide fire service prior to project opening. Increase security plan with 24/7 on-site security. And address off-site parking concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to hear from the public comments, and then we'll have our discussion. Madam Clerk, committee requests we have to speak.
We have 3.
All right, call them up, please.
Jonathan Reyes, Javier Leum, and Zach James.
Hi, how y'all doing? My name is Jonathan Reyes. I live in Paris, California, pretty much the last 25 years of my life. I'm a local business owner here. I have several large trucks and trailers. And we heard about this travel center coming in, and it's just been like Christmas morning, you know what I mean? Like, we need a place to go to fill up safely, not to block traffic or get stuck in a parking lot. A few concerns you guys had, the height of the sign. I've traveled all across this country working, and the last second you don't see it's a truck stop or they have diesel fuel and you're swerving over to get off. I like the fact that the sign is a little higher because of the bridge of Ethernac, so we can see it clearly. Also, I know this Miss Menifee suggests something about cancer and the pollution. As being a diesel owner, we now have to get clean air certs on our trucks twice a year. So if it's a smog polluter or it doesn't pass, it doesn't get registration. So they've just put that in, you know, and they're making us pay for that twice a year to make sure that our vehicles are up to par. As far as the sign, I'm sure we can get through all that and to make sure that it stays nice looking the whole time. There's all new products out there for that. But I just wanted to tell you that we are super excited about this travel center and to be able to go somewhere safely and get fuel and get off to work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Javier Leum.
I'm sorry, what's that last name?
Leyva?
Leyva?
Yes, Leyva. Javier Leyva with J&M Leyva. I own a business here, Paris. Been here since '99. Business owner, and just same. The gas stations that we have currently, just, I see it all the time with our guys where people get mad at us because we're with big trucks at gas stations. We don't have enough of them, so I think this is honestly this is amazing that we could have something like this coming up if the opportunity presents. I don't know if I can add any more than what Jonathan added. He hit good points, but I think this would be a good coming up for the travel center.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Zach James.
I'm sorry, what?
Zach James.
Zach?
Zach James.
Okay, Zach, you're on.
What's up? All right, let me clear my throat. So, Miss Menifee had a lot of negative things to say about cancer. I heard cartels. I heard all types of crazy things, and nobody said anything good about, truck drivers, trying to help truck drivers. Me as a local business owner, I own a trucking company, and this is something that we need. All the food that you guys got in your pantries from the grocery store, truck drivers. All the gas in your cars, truck drivers. All this material to build these buildings, truck drivers. So everybody wants to keep expanding the cities, but no one's thinking about the truck drivers. We got 100 warehouses in Moreno Valley, Paris area. We're not adding more truck drivers. It's just the same amount of traffic that's going on. They just need a place to fuel up. So all my guys have to fill up in Fontana before they get all the way back to Paris. And that's just more traffic that they have to sit in. So it's actually adding more pollution if they're sitting in traffic at 5 o'clock coming back because they had to fill up in Fontana to the nearest truck stop. So I think that having a travel center here in Paris will benefit because my guys could just fill up early in the morning, 4 or 5 in the morning, and then go on about their day. So, yeah, that's kind of all I got to say about the travel center.
Thank you, Zach.
Thanks.
That is all.
Zach, the first name, or James, the first name? Ah. All right, is that it, Madam Clerk?
That is all.
All right, we're going to close the public hearing at 7:50. Going to continue on discussion. Please use the queue if you want to say something. If not, I'm going to be seeking a motion for the resolution. Councilman Corona.
Thank you, Mayor. I do want to thank all the speakers, including Ms. Talavera, who spoke up for Menifee and the concerns. I did have some issues, and keep in mind it is not directed at you personally. I think you represent the city, and I think you do a fantastic job of doing that. But there was an issue that was in there that's it's close to the residents, right? And I think this project actually meets Menifee's own good neighborhood guidelines, right? In fact, Menifee's actually building warehouses closer to their residents than we're putting this travel center. So, and there's been other projects that have been kind of came to us, and you know, I can't speak too much about it because one hasn't been finalized. But I would like to think that even the city of Paris, our current council right now, we care more about Menifee's residents than Menifee cares about their own residents. You know, they're trying to build warehouses closer to the residents. And keep in mind, it's probably their poorest, and I'm gonna say it's their poorest and brownest area as well. The infrastructure of the road, I know it needs to get improved on, but that's part of it, correct? So we're gonna get the infrastructure, right? The distance for the residents is greater than what Menifee even requires. And then with the fire situation, I know, shoot, I'd hate to ask you to come over here, but I'm going to invite you over here, Captain Schofield. Yeah. So I'm not going to try to get you to, you know, because I know you represent both cities.
Okay, you got to check.
So
Hold on, you need to check with them. I already closed the public hearing, so now I got to reopen it again.
No, do we?
You're bringing up, yes,
I'm bringing for.
doesn't matter.
All right.
Gonna reopen, so, and I want you guys to finalize this, so we're not going back and forth, please.
Yeah.
I'm gonna reopen the public hearing at 7:53. Okay, go on.
Okay, this is the only person I'm going to bring up because you know, some comments were said, right? And I do want to kind of clarify. You know, I know Menifee, I think rightfully so, right? They want us to kind of meet our fair share. But is the city of Paris moving forward with the new fire station in down south?
Yes, sir. We have acquired the land for the new fire station. It is currently in the design process. We've acquired the land for a new fire station. It is currently in the design process. That went out to RFP last week, I believe. We're waiting for somebody to latch onto that design, and then once the design is done, we will move forward with the groundbreaking of a new fire station off of Watson and Marietta Road.
Okay, and then as soon as it's built, will the change of you know, with the reciprocation from Menifee, will that decrease?
Absolutely. It could flip the script, if you will.
It's
So
actually going to flip. We're providing more service to Menifee than they're currently providing to us.
definitely could flip the script, yes.
Okay. I definitely want to thank you for clarifying that.
Okay, before you go on, and before I close it, I want to address one question with him. Did Menifee or the county, some unincorporated or city area, didn't they shut down a fire station not too long ago?
They moved a fire station, so Menifee built a new fire station, a new Quail Valley Fire Station, which moved the fire station a mile back into the city from its current location.
A mile south of the current location?
Correct. So it moved it a mile south, which opens up some call volume and reciprocating call volume in the Monument Ranch area. So we still have to look at the statistics for that to ensure that is actually translating into less reciprocating, or Menifee running more calls into Paris and Paris running more calls into its own city.
All right, before I let him go and close the hearing, does anybody have a question for the fire captain, the fire chief?
No, Mr. Mayor, but I do want to add, I'm glad the council asked their questions, and thank you for responding. But none of this is even relevant to CEQA analysis. It has
Thank you.
nothing to do with CEQA. So I just want to put that on the
I think there
record.
was just comments back on, based on Menifee's comments. Thank
Yeah.
you so much, chief. You may sit down. I'm going to close the public hearing at 7:55. You may continue.
Okay.
Councilman Corona.
I think the rest are just comments. So for those that you don't know, my own father was a truck driver, and at the times that I got in trouble at school, our punishment was actually go with my dad in his truck and spend the whole day with them. And oftentimes it was really hard to find a place to refuel and get snacks that accommodated a large truck that my father drove. And I keep my dad helped provide a whole family and send 4 kids to college, and with, of course, the support of my mom who's here. So I definitely have a soft spot for truck drivers, and make sure that they have a safe place to go to, a place where they could get snacks, where they're not interrupting the whole intersection or parking lot, going to a commercial area. Now when this project first came, I was a little skeptical. Obviously, is adding more trucks to an area that didn't have it, but the benefits, I think, outweigh the negatives. So for one issue, it's not just used for trucks, right? I mean, when the mention was the prices are going to be comparable to Costco, I got excited about that. So I'm looking forward to that, and I know a lot of residents are going to be using that as well too. Providing a Cinnabon and other places to go there is also beneficial as well too. And at the same time, I know that our planning commission that is spends a lot of time on projects and really analyzing projects. With the project that was kind of centered around trucks, this item got 4-0 vote. So it just shows how what kind of project it is. So I'm in full support of this project. I do want to bring up the signage, please, to address some of the concerns of my colleague, Councilwoman Nava. I think we could always make things a little bit better and for our city. But I think those are all the comments I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Vallejo.
I'm going to direct these questions to city staff, and I hope we don't have to open for a public hearing. So for city staff, regarding this project, for the EV charging stations, are these the supercharger ones, or like the medium ones, or the low-level ones?
We haven't defined that yet. The applicant can do that, but there's conditions now today that requires a percentage of the parking to be EV.
Okay. And can someone describe to me what E85 fuel is? Because I'm not sure what that was.
I will defer to the applicant to clarify that.
Oh. Oh, okay, never mind then. Oh, okay, perfect. And
Lower-
then,
They answered it, never mind.
perfect.
Thank
no,
you.
Sorry. And then I just wanted to know also for city staff, is the Arby's like official? Nothing wrong with Arby's, guys, but maybe another restaurant type would be a good thing.
I believe that's confirmed, but
Okay.
because they put it on the slide, but if you really want to confirm, you would have to ask the applicant.
No worries, thank you.
Councilman, or excuse me, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out and sharing your concerns regarding this project from the city of Menifee along with the public speakers. In my mind, this is a no-brainer. The land is zoned commercial. The Planning Commission thoroughly vetted this project back in October. It was a unanimous vote. I believe the city of Menifee, as Councilman Corona touched upon, is trying their best to screw up or hinder our project. It is important to note that they have the Core 5 project coming in, and they place those warehouses near the residents of, technically they're Menifee, but in my mind, it'll always be this area of Roma land. So they had no qualms about putting warehouses near their poorest members of their community. They're not going to put them over by the lake and the golf course. They're not going to put them over in the center of town, but they had no issues, no qualms putting them up and down Roma land, up and down that area. I believe the fire station issue is a moot issue. We are making moves in terms of securing a fire station for the southern portion of town. Myself and Mayor Vargas are on the Public Service Committee, and we just discussed that item this last Friday in terms of moving forward on that. So I think this item is a no-brainer in terms of moving forward. I think in terms of the council supporting our planning commission, supporting the truckers, it is important that they have an area to fill, particularly the city of Menifee, putting a lot of warehouses in that area. Those truckers are going to need an area to fuel, and I will be supporting this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Everett, can you put back the slide that shows an aerial view of the site? An actual aerial, yeah, keep going. Keep going. There was another one in particular I'm looking for. Was it Menifee's? Was that all the slides for that one?
I think there was an applicant presentation that showed all the zoning.
Can you go back to the applicants then? Let me see her pictures. Oh, right there, I think. Nope. Keep going. Right there. So just to reiterate what my colleagues have said, there's the Ethan Act Travel Center, and there's Core 5, Core 5, Core 5. Those are all warehouses. And they're talking about impacts in we're impacting, we're not building a warehouse, folks, but they're building warehouses that's going to impact here. And yes, the fees are different because this is significantly more impacts compared to what this impact is going to be. So anyway, you've heard it all from my colleagues. And then Case and Barrett, what does that have to do with this project? That's clearly crossed on the west side of the freeway, has nothing to do with this project. And I have to, too, focus on, you can turn that off and go back to ours. Final slide. The signage, I'm constantly bugging the property management at the Plaza de Paris. That's a brand-new, what do you call that stand?
Freeway sign?
No, that's layman terms. There's an official term for that.
A monument sign.
Monument? Nah.
Pylon
something else.
sign?
Pylon. That's a brand-new pylon they tore down and rebuilt. And I know the intensity of heat out here is intense. That's why they say intensity heat. I came from Ontario, I left there in 2004, and just that 30-minute distance more, the heat is damaging a lot of these things. I get that. But for that to be a brand-new pylon and that's disgusting at nighttime when the lights are on. God, it's horrible. So, Mr. Applicant, please, Mr. Allen, look into some materials that's going to be longer, better lasting. Maybe put concrete and etch concrete out. I don't know. That's a joke, but I do have to reemphasize that we've got to work on our signage, and perhaps it needs to go back to your department, planning, to update the ordinance on signage. All right, we've heard enough already. Oh, and just one more thing, a security plan, that's not even a requirement. This is not no marijuana facility. They're going above and beyond by having a full-time security guard there, 24/7 surveillance. Menifee, that's not a requirement, but that's an addition that they're doing, and I appreciate them for doing that. All right, let's move on. I'm looking for a motion on the resolution. I have a motion by Councilman Corona, second by Mayor Pro Tem Rabb. Please call a vote.
Mayor, if I may,
Yes.
We'd like to, if you'd like us to add a condition, we have some language to incorporate as a condition of approval as part of the motion.
Of course.
Yes, as part of the condition regarding the freeway sign, we want to read into the record, the freeway sign shall be designed with enhanced treatment to be weatherproof and to withstand the elements subject to the review and approval of the city.
That's it? Can the applicant come up real quick, Mr. Allen? I just want you to clearly understand that you understand the conditions of approval, not just this one, but all the conditions that are on this project.
Yes, I do.
Thank you very much. You may sit down. Okay. Councilman Rab?
Yes, I just thought of one more condition, given Councilwoman Viejo's comments. We can ask for a percentage of the charging to be high voltage charging. I'm not too sure. Maybe we can direct it to staff to figure out that percent.
Mr. Allen, you okay with that? Thank you. I'm sorry, Mr. Allen. Mr. Robertson? All right, that's it, guys. Second is Mayor Pro Tem Rab, please call the vote.
Five oh, motion approved.
Thank you. Item 12A has been moved. We took care of that already. 12B is consideration to approve the fiscal, this is business items now. Does not require public hearing. 12B is consideration to approve the fiscal year 24-25 mid-year budget amendments. This will be introduced by our Director of Finance, Matthew Schenk.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. Good evening, Council. Yes, tonight we are presenting the mid-year budget amendments for fiscal year 24-25. Just a couple items to note. This was presented to the Ways and Means Committee on last week, February 7th. It was their recommendation to move forward with no changes. A couple points we're going to talk about is a revenues and expenditures breakdown, fiscal year 24-25 amendments, summary on our reserves, and lastly, what do we see coming in the next 5-10 years? On to the actual, so first of all, where does our revenue come from? This is a breakdown. We have a budget of approximately $73.1 million in revenues as well as expenditures. Largest portion of our revenue comes from sales and use tax, 39% or $28.6 million. Next is other taxes, $12.8 million or 18%. That's about 25 different line items of small items that all add up to that. Property taxes next at 13% or $9.6 million. Vehicle license fee in lieu, $9.1 million or 13%. Cannabis tax with the current budget before these amendments are $5.2 million or 7%. And not lastly, $4.7 million for transfers in. This comes from our special revenue funds as well as our CFD agency funds that maintain city property. And lastly, franchise fees, 4% or $2.8 million. Next is how does the city spend this by department? Obviously, like most cities, largest portion is public safety. Police takes about 34% or $25.3 million. Community services at 14% or $10.1 million. Development services, $9.5 million or 13%. Public Works, $7.8 million or 11%. Admin is $7.3 million or 10%. Fire at 10%, $7.0 million. IT is at 4%, $2.8 million. Finance, 2%, $1.4 million. And our new second year in-house engineering is at $1.4 million or 2%. So looking, there you can see the first column is our currently approved budget. Like I mentioned earlier, revenues of $73.1 million, matching expenditures of $73.1 for a budgeted surplus of $50,000. The amendments we're proposing tonight, obviously this is just a summary. There's much more detail within your staff report. Feel free to stop me if you have any questions. The revenue amendments tonight is an increase in $1.5 million. Expenditures, we are requesting an increase of $991,000. On the far right, you will see our budgeted surplus increasing. I didn't touch that. Okay. Are we back? Yes. Surplus of $601,000.
Very good.
I like to compare year to year on these amendments. We are in the second year of our two-year budget, so the first year of that was 23-24. You could see the revenue amendments were up at 4.9 million compared to this year of only 1.5 million. Expenditures amendments went from 2.4 down to 991,000. That's actually kind of rare. Normally, it's the first year that you're closer on your budget because as you budget out, it's harder to project what's going to happen in 2, 3, 4 years. But it's a good sign. On to the actual amendments. Again, I'm just going to go into some of the higher level projects, not into every detail. Those are in the staff reports. General fund revenues, like I mentioned, total increase of 1.5 million. First of all is the only decrease of cannabis tax. We reduced that by $2 million. We are seeing this statewide. We're seeing it through all the cities throughout California, whether it's saturation of the market, but we had to do it as much as I didn't want to. Next is a $130,000 increase in code citations, $12,500 in lien repayment code recoveries, $400,000 increase in plan check permit fees. This is for our in-house engineering, so we are starting to see the money come in with our in-house engineering, and $3 million increase in interest earnings. When we created this budget nearly 2 years ago, everyone remembers the interest rates were severely low, where the city was not making any interest on the money that we were holding, and obviously interest rates have gone up, so it's a positive budget amendment. Couple items in some of the departments. Internal services, we have, these are expenditure increases. I apologize, it doesn't say it on the screen, but these are expenditure increases. Internal services is $115,000 increase in water utilities. In October of last year, you may remember we consolidated with Eastern Municipal Water District. A lot of our city properties were under parish utilities, where now we are under EMWD for our bills for water. So we are seeing that increase. Engineering has an increase of $100,000 in contract staffing. Again, that is covered with the increase in revenue with engineering. Administration has a $55,000 increase in contract staffing. Information technology, a $30,000 increase in technology hardware. That is to beef up all of our Wi-Fi throughout the city to make it more secure for city staff and the community. Community services, $15,000 increase in youth day camp. This was an item that was previously funded by ARPA. With ARPA funding being gone, it was requested that this program continue. Solid Waste Fund, we are asking $75,000 increase in street tree maintenance. We thought with all the winds and storms that we've been having, it'd be better to get ahead and clean up those trees. Next on to the projected reserves. I last presented these in July, and the left table is what I presented to council prior. You see we had a total reserves of $73.4 million. Since then, we've had some commitments from City Council for both the water consolidation and as well as funding deltas for some parks. And I wanted to give a more accurate, this is budgeted. These are unaudited numbers, so they will change. However, I just wanted to give a more accurate projection on our reserves. You can see that now we have a $59.4 million total reserve compared to the 73.4. Don't get too concerned. The new funded ratio is on the left. The prior one is on the right. As you can see, we still have a funded ratio of 81%. It's much higher than neighboring cities, almost any that I've seen. So what do we see coming in the near future? First, I'd like to hand this off over to Assistant City Manager Ernie Reyna to talk about the Bradley Burns sales tax reform.
Thank you, Matt, and thank you, members of the City Council. So what Matt is presenting here is kind of a look into the crystal ball. So we know what we have in the current year situation. we're trying to give a picture of what we see coming down in the next couple of years. And so we've highlighted a couple of areas. And one that, this first one here, the Bradley Burns sales tax reform, what we're looking at is the way in which the city receives that 1% portion that comes back to the city, specifically related to a lot of the e-commerce information that for the warehouses we have here in the city. There's a working sales tax group that our city manager, Clara Miramontes, sits on. And the proposal they had was to kind of reshift some of these revenues that we're currently keeping. Those revenues that were in the city may end up going back into the countywide pool. So those revenues that we were seeing prior would all of a sudden now be put back to the county, and we would lose those. So it's somewhere in the millions. We can't quite yet quantify what that might be, but we do see a significant loss of revenues if that were to happen. And it looks like it might be coming down the pipeline. Myself, I sit on the Tax and Revenue Committee for the league, and so I'm trying to keep an update on what's going on with that. But we do see that as being problematic in terms of what we could be receiving for revenues in the near future. And so that Bradley Burns, we're keeping a close eye on, but that's something that we want to target and make sure that we have a close grip on, but it could impact us significantly. But that's what that portion refers to. So I'll kick it back over to Matt. If we have any questions on that part, I'll be happy to answer as well.
Thank you, Arnie. Yes, next items we see, as you can see with our budget amendments tonight, is the cannabis. We are seeing cannabis sales tax reform. That is an item, I believe, coming in the future in regards to lowering the city's cannabis tax rate. And then just statewide, we're seeing the decrease in cannabis sales tax. Like I mentioned, statewide, all the cities we're seeing it. I've talked to our consultants about it, and they're seeing the same thing statewide. And then, as been mentioned earlier in this evening, yes, the South Paris Fire Station, in June of '24, we put inside our capital improvement plan over $1 million in design for the fire station. And we are looking into options and presenting options for funding of the fire station, whether approximate cost is $15 million. We're looking at if we want to bond for it, or if we want to use reserves, a hybrid of the two. So there has been discussions on that. And that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Excellent. Thank you, Matt. Council, do you have any questions or comments? All right. Councilman Corona.
So it seems like the things coming forward are things that are going to maybe be challenges to the city. Do you see anything that's coming that's going to benefit the city, or it's all challenges?
I mean, interest rates are good right now.
Okay.
That's good.
If I can add to that, there are some positive things to look forward to. For example, we have some new retailers coming into the city, some new restaurants. Target's one of the bigger ones, which will generate lots of sales tax, we hope. So there are some positive factors which we continue through our economic development to try to attract businesses. So that's one of the positive things as well.
Okay, and then I think you mentioned something about the cannabis tax reforms. Is that statewide, or is that?
There is some talks going in California of the state actually increasing their sales tax I believe it's at 15% currently, and they're talking of increasing it up to 25%. So that could have an effect just on the market itself. I mean, just making it more expensive.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Great presentation.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Matt. Madam Clerk, do you have any requests to speak?
No, sir.
Anybody in the audience wishing to speak on this item? Very good. You want us to provide direction to staff regarding what? Is this just a presentation, no?
It's a receive and file.
Yeah. We have never mind. All right, moving on to, oh, you know what? I was looking at the number C, that's why. C's been pulled. My bad. This was a receive and file. No, this is not receive and file. This is I was just like the wrong item. Okay. Council, I need a motion on this item. I have a motion by Councilman Corona, second by Mayor Pro Tem Rabb. This is to approve fiscal year 2024-2025 mid-year budget amendments. what happens when you jump a line.
5-0, motion approved.
Thank you. All right, so 12C has been pulled. So that takes us to 13, which is council communications. We'll start with Councilwoman Vallejo.
Yes, the only thing that I really do want to discuss about would just be about a general plan update. It has come to my attention that we have not updated our general plan update in over 10 years. And at that time, our city has changed dramatically. Our demographics have very much shifted, and our infrastructure has changed, and then the community has been evolving. So I believe that a general plan for all cities, it is a living, pretty much document that really guides our growth within the city, development, and then all the priorities that the community has, but also that the city has as well. And I would have researched that in California that most general plan updates are supposed to be updated periodically, and that's something that we should really be focusing on. And we are way beyond that timeline, and I do believe that if we don't update it, it will really hinder our great ability to serve others, to really serve our community and residents on what they need and what their needs are. So I do believe that for AB 98, they do mandate for housing and safety on trucks, intensive uses. And I do believe that this is going to be a great opportunity for us to really do that full comprehensive update. And it could really help us really align our land use and really help us with transportation and so many others. And I know it's a very big ask, but I do believe it's something that's necessary, and it's what serves best for the community. So I would like to request staff to begin this process, and I want a timeline on just for a comprehensive general update plan, because now is the time to really start engaging with the community, analyzing our needs, and this would really help us reimagining our city for the next generation, because as you can tell, our council has pretty much changed and shifted direction, and I feel like it's time to really go with what this generation is going to. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Corona.
Yeah, just want to highlight a couple events that I attended with some of my colleagues. I do want to thank the staff for organizing Job Shadow Day. It was very well organized from the feedback that I got. With so many kids, hundreds of kids coming from our neighboring districts, and some of them were really excited about some of the jobs that are out there. And then a lot of them went to somewhere and realized that that's a job that they don't want to do, which is fine too, right? Special shout out to Stretch Form Corporation, the Stretch Forming Corporation, and their owner Brian Geary. I took about 10 students there as a chaperone and got a tour of the whole facility, which I drive by all the time, but I never actually been in there. But they actually do build parts for SpaceX and military parts for planes and for other things. And then I know one kid was just so fascinated about it, but he was talking about the owner about it, and the owner asked him if he's 18, and so I think the kid's gonna apply for a job pretty soon. I did attend this Saturday with our staff and I'd say about 24 of our youth at the Enchanted Hills Park cleanup. We just pressure washed and picked up trash and did a lot of mulching everywhere, so the park looks great. And I'm sure the residents in the surrounding area are going to enjoy it. The Foss Field groundbreaking that I attended with the mayor and Councilwoman Nava. Just very excited about the upcoming park here on our city campus. It's going to be a great addition and give the park a facelift. So we're really excited about that with pickleball courts and a new facility and places to play, more places to play indoor soccer for those that are into that. And at the same time, too, I can't say that I participated, but I did drive by and kind of interact with a couple of the of the protesters that were nearby and throughout our city in the last week and also today. But I do want to point out it's always important and beneficial to the cause and in the spirit of Dr. Martin Luther King and Cesar Chavez to always be peaceful, right? It's very important to express your concerns with things or to express your opinions on things, but to always do it in a peaceful manner. And I do want to thank our sheriffs for showing great restraint, and then only taking action when people started to become unruly. But for the majority of the people that were out there, and the majority of the time, they were very, very peaceful. So I want to thank those residents that were doing that. And then I'm not gonna get too much into it, but I do know that just looking at the agenda, I know an item was pulled, but I'm not gonna talk about that. But specifically, it talked about the River Glen project, and in there was information about what the staff recommendation had about increasing the density. So going along the line of what Councilwoman Vallejo had to say about our general plan, I do want to direct staff, specifically our planning, to identify areas that would benefit from more residential density and to come back with the presentation. Feel free to include in what Councilwoman Vallejo had to say, but I think any increase in density should always come from the council and not a byproduct of another development. That's all the comments for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Nava.
Thank you, Mayor. First and foremost, I'd like to begin by providing an update regarding what I had spoken at our last council communications, and that's in regards to helping protect our vulnerable families from mass deportations. As of then, there has, as we know, been more information coming down from our current administration. And so that's something that's an evolving, sensitive subject. So before I present it to council, I want to make sure that I continue working with our staff, our legal team, and the various stakeholders. And I actually have a meeting again tomorrow. So just know that this is something that I prioritize and am constantly working on and making sure that we provide something that's going to help our families here in Paris. And in the meantime, if you haven't done so already, I encourage folks to continue to know their rights, refresh yourselves on that, and know that there are various resources available. So we will stay tuned on that item. And then another topic that I'd like to include, and that's something that I was going to bring up at our respective committee meetings that I sit on the beautification and economic development. I had the opportunity to participate in my first economic development committee meeting, and there was some exciting, great things happening there, and unfortunately, we ran out of time. But those two items somewhat are interconnected. And for example, tonight, we spoke upon signage. So if I could urge our city manager, Mayor Montes, to go ahead and give us some options as far as consultants, as far as ways that we could really dive into the aesthetics of our city, rebranding our city, and just the various other ways that we probably haven't tapped into. And I know our staff works incredibly hard, but oftentimes, again, there's different departments. Sometimes folks work in silos, and I just really want to really kick up and amp up those two items as far as economic development and beautification in our city, and just the various ways that we could support or provide further funding, resources, et cetera. So
To confirm, though, we started the Economic Development Committee first and then bring that up here.
oh, yes, yeah. And that's something that I wanted to go ahead and start off sooner than later, given
Sure.
that we have projects coming up and whatnot. Moving on to my last item, I would like to extend my deepest condolences to our city clerk, Nancy, for the passing of her father, Heriberto Jimenez. So my heart and prayers goes out to Nancy's family. And those are all my comments for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Vargas. Given the lateness of the hour, I will forego public council communications this time. Thank you.
Thank you. So, yeah, I won't repeat everything we've done together here. So we forgot to mention early childhood classroom opening. That is the fantastic center. We received some money from Congressman Tucano from earmark money to get that done. I attended the IE Caucus 21st Legislative Breakfast. That's the organization that provides services for our disadvantaged adults. And just to mention that Senator Cervantes and her team will be visiting Paris on February 21st. They want to get a good look, some good hands on what they're doing in their districts, so we applaud her for coming down. And I think that was it, everybody. Employee Recreation Committee had a great sports fest. Glad we can always do these activities for our employees. And thank Community Service for everything they do for our community as well as our staff. All right, moving on to 14. Item 14 is our city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. I have two items. The free yard sale weekend will begin Friday, February 21st through Sunday, February 23rd. And the Take a Hike event will happen on Saturday, February 22nd. We'll begin at Frank Eaton Park, and check-in time is at 8 a.m. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item 15, adjournment. Unfortunately, you heard Councilwoman Nava bring it up, but we are going to be adjourning in memory of Gilberto Jimenez, the father of our city clerk, Nancy Salazar, who unfortunately passed away on January 30th, 2025. And then Autherine Broussard, if you remember Mr. Joseph Broussard, I brought that up. Not even a month later, the wife, my mother from another mother, passed away on February 6th, not a little over a month after her husband passed. So condolences to both these families. And with that, we are adjourned at 8:30. Thank you, everybody, and thank all the speakers who came out tonight.